السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم في برنامج نيوكاسل مع وليد. طبعا اليوم عندنا ضيوف مميزين قادمين من بريطانيا وتحديدا نيوكاسل. برنامج شؤون نيوكاسلية مع الإعلامي المتميز ستيف ريث وأعضاء البرنامج، وبرنامج لودد ماجز اللي هو فيما يعني فول ماكبايس، وضيفنا اليوم مارتن من البرنامج. نتمنى لكم مشاهدة ممتعة. راح نتكلم عن نيوكاسل وهذه الفترة يعني المتمثلة بنجاح نيوكاسل في ضمان البقاء في هذا الموسم القادم من الدوري الإنجليزي، وأيضا سوف نتكلم عن صفقة شراء نيوكاسل ومواضيع أخرى. Welcome everyone to Newcastle with الوليد. Happy to honor. We have everything tonight. We have NUFCMATTERS, three amigos, and I want to a special welcome to Steve Wraith and Steve Hasty and Martin for joining us today, and we have also more guests to join this evening. At the beginning, I just will talk about in Arabic a little bit. لدينا الآن راح نعرض فكرة البرنامج حق الإعلامي ستيف ريث وبرنامج لودد ماجز مع وجود مارتن. راح نعطيكم فكرة عن البرنامج. We'll try to play this video. And after I play this video, sometimes the sound gone, so you just drop out and come in again if the sound disappears. So let's start with برنامج شؤون نيوكاسل NUFCMATTERS, and we get back at you.
قناة شؤون نيوكاسل NUFCMATTERS يقدمها الإعلامي المتميز ستيف ريث، ويحتوي على برامج يومية متعددة متخصصة في نادي نيوكاسل يونايتد. الاثنين عبر، الثلاثاء مع صحفي جريدة شيلد جازيت مع الصحفي ليام كندي، الأربعاء ليلة أساطير نيوكاسل مع الأسطورتين مالكوم وجيبو، الخميس نيوكاسل أيام زمان، الجمعة الليلة الكبرى مع الأصدقاء الثلاثة، السبت البث الخاص بمشجعي نيوكاسل حول العالم، ويوم الأحد ليلة سيدات نيوكاسل، وأيام المباريات والاستوديو التحليلي المباشر وحلقات خاصة أخرى مع شخصيات متعددة. تجدون هذه القناة في اليوتيوب وتويتر والإنستغرام تحت اسم UFC Toon Talk.
This is our last chance really in the game. Knock down, Willock!
Steve Wraith, how it started?
Fantastic seeing that footage at the end. I mean, Matchday Live was something which everybody does. All the other podcast channels do. So it's probably the only program where I've copied, I suppose, from other channels, because the rest of our stuff is all original content. And I've got to be honest, I didn't think it would work, but I just thought, we've got such a good squad of people, and we'd amalgamated a load of great fans around the world who all really enjoyed each other's company, and just doing that was great. So watching that, 12 months on, it's probably the Three Amigos, of course, is my favourite show that we do, but the Matchday Live's been really good during lockdown. But how did it start? It was an idea which I had a couple of years ago. NUFCMATTERS was an idea which, I'd come up with regards to me, Supermac and Gibbo, who were on a Thursday night. And of course, Malcolm MacDonald played for Newcastle. Supermac was his nickname. Gibbo is John Gibson, who is the North East newspaper writer who covered Newcastle for many, many years. And we just joined together. We filmed. We had a film crew. A young guy called Nathan Clark used to come to my house, and John Gibson and Supermac used to come to the house, and we started the shows there. We did a couple of prototypes sitting in the office using the computer, and they didn't get great figures. So we put a bit of professionalism to them. But sadly, the numbers just weren't there. We tried to give it, a bit of, something a bit different, and it didn't work. We did about half a season, and that was it. We just said, look, we'll give it a go. We enjoyed it, but it's a lot of running around, a lot of trouble, and let's not bother. So then fast forward to February 2020, and coronavirus hits the world, and in March I decided to do some live chats on Instagram, really with me, ex-players, ex-Newcastle players that I knew, so the likes of Rule Fox, Rob Lee, Warren Barton, who were all on Instagram, all decided to come on and do the show, kindly agreed to do it. And then I asked my good friend Neil Mitchell, because he was quite prolific on the, on Twitter as the Geordie Dentist. And I said, look, do you fancy come on and just talking with me about Newcastle once a week? We'll do a weekly show. And he went, yeah, let's do it. So that was the beginning, really. And the figures that we got for the chat between me and Neil Mitchell compared to the figures that we got for the chat between me and some of the ex-players were far superior. So I said, look, let's look at this properly, please. Let's put this on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel. It predominantly covers crime and crime documentaries. It had some decent numbers on there. I think it had something in the region of 12,000 subscribers. And we just basically took everything off that channel, which was crime related, and started uploading the football show, NUFC Matters. And we started off with me and Neil Mitchell on the Friday night. And, a couple of weeks later, we invited Steve Hasty onto it. And the Three Amigos was born. I mean, the fact that people were watching that in numbers from day one told us that we had a good format. And I didn't really plan it, وليد. Because of lockdown, I was in the house a lot. I just sat down one day and just thought, what could I do? What aren't the other channels doing? And obviously I've got connections with ex-players with my company Newcastle Legends, so I utilised my connections with ex-players. Got a few players on. So Steve Howie was on every week, Lee Clark was on every week, Super Mac and Gibbo, we brought that show back on a Thursday, that was on. And then I was watching Twitter and noticed that there was a lot of girls who weren't getting the opportunity to partake in shows. A lot of the other channels were top heavy with men. I'm not saying for one instance I was the first person to put a woman on a Newcastle show, but I was really the first one to drive an all-female panel. And I noticed there was a couple of girls who were getting a lot of abuse on social media who were Newcastle fans. And the first one I saw was Sav Mondo. She was getting quite a lot of attacks. And I said, look, do you fancy coming to do a podcast and being part of the community and, joining our NUFC Matters show? She was a bit nervous at first, but she came on, and our first show was actually on the Three Amigos with me, Steve and Neil. And she was great. She was a bit nervous, but she enjoyed herself. And then I thought, look, I'm going to advertise for some other girls. And, I got a few messages back, and we launched Ladies Night on a Monday night with Kendall, with Sav, and with Samantha. And again, I think that was the first of its kind, first all-female panel with me as the host. The journalist side of things, well, Liam Kennedy and I are great pals. We were friends prior to lockdown, and I noticed that there was a younger crowd watching our shows as well as an older crowd, and I thought we'll get Liam on. He's a good journalist. He's got his finger on the pulse with the takeover. The takeover is a big story at the moment. Let's maybe get Liam on a show. I got him on one show with the aim of just having him on for one show, but he enjoyed it that much, and I enjoyed it that much that was born. So it's all been very embryonic and just started off on its own. There was no brainstorming. There was no sitting down with people and going, right, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. It was all embryonic, and it's just literally taken off and gone beyond my wildest dreams, because, as I say, 12,000 people who had subscribed to the channel because of crime videos, but now it's over 40,000, and that is predominantly football fans. So 28,000 more Newcastle fans have come to that channel, subscribed, and have become part of the community, or as we like to call it, the cult.
That was great, Steve. And I have maybe a little confession I will make in a few minutes. I would like to welcome Steve Hasty. It's an honor, sir, to host you for first time. I was really wanted to do that and host you as a guest, but we didn't have, maybe with everything goes around, we didn't find a good time. Welcome, Steve Hasty.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be on, Alweed, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming, sir. I want to ask you how NFC Matters mean to you, since you, as I understand from the show, you came as Steve Wraith said before, the longest guest or something like that.
Yeah, I came as an extra. I think that's probably the best way to put it. No, Steve and I go back many, many years, and as does my relationship with Neil. And Steve started us on a little radio thing that we had, a little podcast radio show that Steve had Neil and I on. So Neil, I think it's fair to say that Steve knew that Neil and myself could talk about football. I mean, we couldn't talk. There's not much else we can talk about when it comes to football. We're pretty good at it, and we enjoy doing it. So I think it just kind of became a natural progression to come on to when Steve invited me onto the Three Amigos show with Neil. And right from the very start, I enjoyed a Friday night. I wasn't going out on a Friday night. Obviously, we were all in lockdown, and I'm sure, as most people appreciate, on Tyneside on a Friday after work, it's a case of going out, maybe having a bite to eat, or more importantly, going out for a drink and meeting your friends. And of course, we couldn't do any of that. So it was something to keep me entertained. It was something to keep me sane. And I was also chatting to two really good friends. So that was it from my perspective. And quite honestly, I've thoroughly enjoyed every show that we've done. I've enjoyed the company. It's been great getting Keith Patterson on. It's been great having Liam on. And right at the very beginning, as Steve says, when Sav came on, the first one of the ladies who came on the show, and yes, she was very nervous, but it was excellent, because it was again a different characteristic to talking about football, hearing about football from a lady's perspective, which I suppose from my point of view does sound a bit strange, me saying that, as I'm the father of two daughters, one age 28 and one age 22. But quite honestly, they don't talk much about football. In fact, they moan about me talking about football all the time.
Maybe something happened before I joined the NFC Matters. I don't know, and it's a confession I will make, little one. I don't know if Steve Wraith noticed or not. Once, actually, I saw the show of Steve, but before, as I said, I am Newcastle, and it's one of the teams I was supporting. Maybe it wasn't the first one, as I confessed earlier, and first show, but I said before that regarding Alan Shearer when he played against Saudi Arabia in 1998, and that old story I mentioned many times. But I was new in the Newcastle media with everything with the takeover. So in Newcastle Twitter, for example, Twitter is maybe the number one trend now in the social media shows, social media programs. For a starter, the account, I don't know how to follow. I'm new to this people, so I was just searching, looking. I don't know what's going on. Okay, I start as account first. I make a tweet, but I said to myself, this is not enough. Everybody do that. I need to do something special. So I start Instagram, because the video thing. And later on, go to StreamYard and etc. etc. The confession part, I saw Steve Wraith, and I noticed he's a big deal, but I didn't know. I'm still new with this, so I noticed he doing a shows. So I like. So I was like, I don't know how you call it. Maybe draw his attention or something. So I saw the tweet of Steve Wraith, and he put photo for two people. He will gonna host them. I don't know who those two people. Actually, it was Steve Hasty and Mitch. What I did to get Steve Wraith's attention, I cut the head picture for Steve Hasty and Mitch, and I put me and L. And I reply to Steve, but I don't know if he I don't think he say that. I am not sure. Did you remember Steve Wraith or not at all?
Something
I'm
about
hoping-
that rings a bell. Yes, I do seem to remember it. I think it was the start of. It was just. I think it was a Photoshop, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember it.
I remember it, Steve, because it made me look far more attractive than I previously looked.
But did you notice it was me later? Did you or not?
No, I don't think I did. I haven't put the two and two together, وليد.
Until now, so good.
That's very good. Have you still got it?
I'm not really sure.
If you find it, you'll have to tweet it again.
Okay, yeah, how it started, how it's going, you know, it's famous.
One of those. Yeah, do one of those.
Yeah, I will do it. But yeah, it was a funny thing. And El, he said to me, don't do that. This is wrong. But but I said, I have to. I was new in this, so this is my confession I would like to say.
If you've got any more photographs like that, any Photoshop, I'm quite happy.
Send them in.
30 years younger, I will be absolutely delighted.
Well, actually, I've seen the new food bank T-shirt, Stephen. You'll be very surprised.
I've seen that one as well. Don't worry. John has been in touch.
So, dear Martin, welcome again to the Newcastle with the وليد show.
Thanks, mate.
I know now you have a branch or a show called LoadedMags. الآن سوف نعرض البرنامج الثاني اللي هو LoadedMags، ويعني يعني فل ماكبايس. ماكبايس طبعا الكلمة اللي تقصد بها فار الماكبايس الذي يعني نيوكاسل. Now we'll play the video for LoadedMags and we'll come back to you.
قناة رياضية تتكلم بكل ما يخص كرة القدم بشكل عام ونادي نيوكاسل بشكل خاص. يحوي على برامج متعددة وضيوف من جميع التخصصات الرياضية والموسيقية والاجتماعية وردود فعل الجماهير بعد المباريات. يقدمها الرباعي مارتن وداز وكريس هول وريتش. تجدونهم في اليوتيوب وتويتر تحت اسم قناة رياضية تتكلم بكل ما يخص كرة القدم بشكل عام ونادي نيوكاسل بشكل خاص. يحوي على برامج متعددة وضيوف من جميع التخصصات الرياضية والموسيقية والاجتماعية وردود فعل الجماهير بعد المباريات. يقدمها الرباعي مارتن وداز وكريس هول وريتش. تجدونهم في اليوتيوب وتويتر تحت اسم LoadedHQ1.
Martin, my question to you is two parts. First, how NUFCMATTERS mean to you? Second part, if you can tell us about LoadedMag Experience.
Yeah, I think obviously Steve, I was aware of Steve through the match and stuff, and I'd read some of the crime stuff on his channel. And then I seen on Twitter he reached out looking for international fans, and how I got into it was I actually sent Steve a DM and I asked him how positive of the takeover going through was he on a scale of 10 to 100, and he tweeted me, fellas, he DM'd me straight back and he went 100%, mate. Now stop asking us because everybody is. So I didn't DM him after that because I thought that's it. Now he's just going to block us. And about 2 weeks later, he sent me a DM and said, listen, I'm thinking about doing a show of international fans. Know you're from the Northeast, but you're living in Dublin. Would you like to come on? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Be delighted. So I did the first ever international fan show with Steve, with the likes of Andre, with Daz, with Chris, with Adam Beckett, and a few others, and really enjoyed it. And I think what that did for me, because I left the Northeast in 1999, so I've been in Dublin for nearly 21, 22 years. So NUFC Matters for me with Steve and the guys and meeting up with Steve Hasty and Mitch. It enabled me to reconnect with football and reconnect with my club. That I didn't have that association living abroad. I didn't have other fans to talk to. I didn't have the Matchday experience or, listening to somebody. So, doing the live shows, doing the international show and listening to other fans around the world talking about, being what it means to be a black and white, what it means to be a Geordie was, gave me that love affair back again with the club that I think I'd probably lost. And then doing the Matchday live was just, I suppose, what it gives you two things. In one side, it makes me homesick because I'm not able to get home as often, so I can't just turn up at the Strawberry and meet Steve and Hasty for a pint afterwards and throw me a few pennies in the food bank bucket, and head down the big market and get the last bus home, back and see me mother and stuff. So what it did was it gave me a further connection to be able to sit with a beer on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday, whether the result was good, bad, or indifferent, which this season we've had a lot of all. It was just nice to sit with people, relax, watch the match, and just sometimes just chat absolute rubbish. But when we score and stuff, it was the same elation. So for me, NUFC Matters, being involved and being asked to be involved from Steve's perspective has enabled me to reconnect with home, reconnect with the club that I love. And I think more importantly, what it's done is it's actually enabled me to meet some excellent people that, regardless of takeovers and match days and where we all end up and how we meet and how we don't, I hope that they're people that over the next whatever lifetime I've got left, that I'm able to call them friends. So that's what it's brought to me.
That's great, Martin. Regarding regarding Loaded Mags, I hear that you have a new member.
We do, yeah. Pete came on, who's been on some of the match days with us. He's been on some YouTube stuff with the Geordies down south, and kind of that's I suppose quite sporadic whenever he's on. Obviously, Chris wasn't well for a period of time, and Richie has kind of been out. Richie's got some stuff going on, so with things opening up, we've just, like Steve really, and like Mitch, and like Stu Penman and the rest of them, we've kind of found it hard to do all of the shows, and I think obviously being given the opportunity by Steve, I suppose me and Daz really enjoyed it, and to be fair, Daz is a bit of a control freak. Like, Daz likes to be in charge, so barring the shiny bald head, he's kind of like a mini Steve. So he likes to push the buttons and run stuff. So we said we would do a show. But what we wanted to do was we kind of came up with the idea of doing something on screen. It was kind of like an old-fashioned soccer EM stroke Phoenix for the Flames. If anybody, I'm sure the two gentlemen alongside me here will remember Phoenix from the Flames. So we tried to just capture something that we thought was missing out on the market, really, which was, a chat about football in general, not really tying it down to Newcastle, although we do chat about Newcastle. And bringing in the likes of a quiz and different stuff. And then we started to loop in the music. And that surprisingly, that just really, really took off. We weren't expecting to do, obviously we asked Jace Campbell on after he was on with Steve. He came on, we kind of did the loaded quiz, and, we just had a really good laugh. We had a good an hour. It kind of stretched then to an hour and a half, and now we're doing 2 hours every Wednesday. And I will just interrupt there just to say, those who are watching, Sunderland are staying in League One because Lincoln go through. So go on, Lincoln City. Anyway, that just made my night. So yeah, there's nothing better, is there? We'll meet again, Vera Lynn. But yeah, so we do the show. The music really took off, and we're looking at it now that we're actually kind of getting to a point where we may look at splitting Loaded Football Weekly into 2 pieces and kind of have a generic football chat, but do something separate with the music, because we've had some great bands on from all over Scotland, Ireland, Wales, England, and the sad thing is they're all unsigned bands, and we've played some absolutely top tunes. So that took off, and then I suppose probably a little bit into it, Chris and Richie joined, and we just felt we were missing something, which was doing our own show on Newcastle United, because at the end of the day, that's our club, that's us, that's our bread and butter. So we created LoadedMag. We do a 1 hour show on a Friday. Anybody's welcome to come on to it. We try not to cover the same stuff as the Amigos. We probably chose completely the wrong night to do it, because we come after the Amigos is on. So we're still trying to borrow some of Steve's 40,000 subs. I think we're at about 269 at the minute. We're growing exponentially. But the whole point is it's just a gang of lads that have a good laugh, and we like being together. As Steve said, we're good mates. With lockdown opening up, I'm hopeful that me and Daz will be able to catch up soon, and obviously we'll hopefully be able to get over for one of the Matters gigs later in the year. So for me, it's helped massively with my mental health this year and last year. I mean, everybody that's on this show and those that watch know that I had some issues with family, and people like Steve and Steve Hasty, yourself, our lead, were nothing more than supportive. So for that, I'll always be grateful. But yeah, it's just a gang of lads who have a laugh, and we put the content out. Those that want to watch will watch. Those that don't. There's me little fella. Are you happy, Sunderland, to stay in League One? Yeah, just say yeah. Very good. So that's how LoadedMag came about. So yeah, we'll keep doing it, and while people are watching, and if not, we'll keep doing it while we have a laugh.
Very cool, Martin. And I want to say now we are in last 10 minutes in the first half of the game. I would ask you, please, if you can give us a message to the Saudi fans regarding what do you want to say regarding NFC Matters for the Saudi and Arabic fans? So later on, I will take this part and I will translate it in Arabic. Let's start from you, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, 12 months of emotions running high amongst Newcastle's fan base at a time where everyone's been locked down and prevented from doing what they wanted to do. It hasn't been great, but my confidence has always remained high because I've got communication with both sides of the deal, and the information that I've received for the last 12 months has always been that the takeover is still ongoing, and ultimately it's simply down to the fact that the Premier League and the people who run the Premier League have not wanted this takeover to go through for whatever reason. I'm pleased to say that my positivity is being rewarded at the moment, because as various legal actions take place, more information is being made available in rather unorthodox ways. But we are now starting to find out the whys and wherefores of why this takeover didn't go through. And ultimately, for me personally, I can see light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that your viewers in Saudi should be quite excited at the prospect of Newcastle United, being owned by PIF and partly owned by the Rubens and, of course, PCP, who have been facilitating this deal in the UK. So I would say to your viewers, although it's been a long, hard road, I personally feel that we will all get what we want, which is Newcastle United with new owners sometime soon.
Great, Steve. Steve Hasty, your message to Saudi and Arabic fans for Newcastle and the show, of course.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that Newcastle is the most amazing city that you could possibly ever come to. It's also an amazing football to follow. The journey that you go on when you follow Newcastle United is a journey that you never ever be able to get off once you start, and it's a journey that Steve and Martin and myself have been on for many years, and will always be on. But to have new people coming on board, following the journey that we follow with Newcastle United would be absolutely an honour from my perspective. Seeing the football club grow internationally, having followers overseas. What I would also say is that the court cases that are happening, the work that's been done, particularly on the competition case by NCSL, led by Keith Patterson, follow it. If you don't understand what's going on, join the shows and ask the questions, and we'll get you some answers as best we can. But that journey that the competition case is taking is going to be the journey that will give Newcastle United and PIF and the Reuben brothers and PCP a connection that they will never, ever understand once it comes together. It will be the biggest thing to hit football ever. And you want to be part of that journey, join it, support it, get behind it, and we'll take you on a journey. I can guarantee you that. St. James's Park is a fabulous stadium, and we can make this one of the best football clubs going with your support and your help. The people of Saudi Arabia, the people of the Middle East, you will thoroughly enjoy our company. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you, Steve HT. Martin, your message to Saudi and Arabic fans for LoadedMag's show in general.
Yeah, I think both Steves make a good point. I think once you, if any Saudi fan gets an opportunity to go to Newcastle and walk up the steps of the Gallagher and see the green grass when you first stand in the stadium and hear the roar of 50,000+ fans with black and white flags from war flags and everybody decked out in black and white shirts, it's something that will stay in your heart forever. So for me, you know, I hope that the Saudi fans will get to see success the same as we want success, and that they will be hungry for the journey with Newcastle United moving forwards, and that they enjoy, as Steve Hasty said, jumping on the journey that is Newcastle United and becoming part of the Black and White Army. But the best way to find out about it and the best way to get information is watch NUFC Matters, watch the Amigos, watch Loaded Mag, and come on a journey with us as hopefully these things sort themselves out and PIF and the people of Saudi get to become part of one of the best clubs in the world.
Great to hear that, Martin. Now is the halftime. Let's take a quick break. And we expected more people to join. Who expect to join us now? Now, I would happy to say that maybe Joelinton, he's warming up for second half. No, actually, we have players from the Gulf, from Dubai City. Welcome to Dr. Mitch and Stuart.
Don't worry, I've got my pants on. It's sunny.
Thank God for that.
Welcome, Mitch and Stu. Welcome from Dubai. I would like to ask you, how's the news there from Newcastle fans regarding the recent event and recent news? How's it there?
Well, we had a big gathering of our lot here on Wednesday night, and we had a couple of the Qatar mags over as well. So it was quite an interesting gathering for the first time in ages. And it was vociferous, I think is the word to use. It was quite vociferous. We belted a few songs out, and I think everybody's just happy to see football returning to normal a little bit. I think that's the most important thing, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. It was good to see fans in. I know some of our esteemed panel were there. It was very good to see fans in the ground, and hopefully big crowds again next season. That'll be really good. Get back to some normality.
Your message, lads, for Saudi and Arabic fans, for Newcastle and for NUFCMATTERS and LoadedMag show.
Sorry, وليد?
Your message to Saudi fan for Newcastle club and for NUFCMATTERS show. Three Amigos. We were speaking about Three Amigos and other shows.
Keep the faith and keep following. I think there's good news on the horizon, personally.
Definitely.
Stuart?
Yeah, for sure. I think we all know it's a case of when rather than if now. And we fully expect things to move very quickly. People like Keith have been doing a fantastic job, and we're looking forward to a new era for Newcastle United. One that we fully deserve after years of hardship.
Thank you, Mitch and Stu, for joining us from all over, from the Gulf, from Dubai City.
Welcome. Anytime, وليد. Anytime for you, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now we will maybe we'll see at the beginning of the season. We have a studio Mاكبايس. I think Martin was there. Remember? Yeah. Before we go into second half, I will just play. I will play a part from that show. We were expecting who will get the fourth position, fourth position, and guess who was right?
What wasn't me anyway.
We'll see. Liverpool, I think. Liverpool, he will be away from the top 4. For me, is Manchester City, number 1. Manchester United, number 2. Chelsea, number 3. Tottenham, number 4.
Okay, it's a bit weird for me. What do you think, Martin?
Yeah.
I wish if we are allowed.
Yeah. Some inside. I think you had inside information there, وليد.
I wish if there was a opportunity for me to bet on these things, because sometimes I get it right. So let's go to the standing table before we go into second half. So now we have just quickly, this is the first 10. And this is the last 10. So before, and we'll go back to Newcastle, but let's start the second half with the summary of this season. Maybe mention Stu quickly before you go, if you can say summarize this season in a few words.
Summarize the season in a few words. Frustrating. Patchy, disjointed, but the overall feeling of frustration on and off the pitch, and I think that is added to some of the difficulties and the angst within the fan base, which is totally understandable, to be fair. I think, the understanding what's been done to the club by an obvious cartel of individuals who really are scared. They are scared of a vibrant, well-invested, positive Newcastle United, and they've done all they can to stop it. And that daily becomes clearer and clearer as people do the hard work and uncover more and more. So yeah, frustrating is the word I would pick.
I think also disrespectful as well. We've been disrespected by the media. We've been disrespected, or we're using the fear that Mitch just mentioned there, disrespected from the other fans, the other clubs. And it is out of fear, because Newcastle had a taste of it a few years back. And if they had it again with the funds, there's no limit to what can be achieved. And that, when I say that on and off the pitch, we're talking about infrastructure and everything else within the region. And it's not just for those who have lived in Newcastle, when the team wins, the whole mood of the city changes. On a Monday morning, the productivity is a lot higher. But when this takeover does happen and you have people getting jobs from it, and families are benefiting from it, the feel-good factor will be there. We don't have to win anything. We've proved in the past we don't have to win anything to be successful. But putting the trophies along the way would be very, very nice. Hopefully before we all pop our clogs, to be fair. So it'll be the idea of PIF taking over and leading Newcastle. It's not just football based. It's for the whole region. Families can benefit from it. And I'd also like to say a special thanks to Steve Hasty and those at the food bank. And thankfully, through Steve Rave's show, that it's been highlighted, and thousands of pounds have been made from it, and many families have benefited from that as well. So big congratulations to the two, Steve, for all your hard work. It's not unnoticed, and it's fully appreciated.
Thank you, lads. Steve Raith, how you can summarize this season, including Newcastle position and the recent news regarding the court cases?
Yeah, for me, I got to agree with Mitch and Stu. It's been a frustrating season, but one which I expected to be frustrating because Newcastle didn't really, invest and in quality, and took a chance really on players who were no longer wanted by teams, such as Hendrick. Never really a player that settled. Ryan Fraser, who had essentially fell out with a manager at Bournemouth, who were relegated. Although he looked good in fits and starts, never really settled. The one diamond in the rough was Callum Wilson. Obviously, without his goals, Newcastle would have no doubt been relegated. So, there's been a little positive in that. ASM has showed flashes of brilliance. But overall, as a Newcastle fan, pretty much more of the same that we've had, for the last 14 years under Mike Ashley's regime. It's what you've come to expect as a Newcastle fan, sadly, and it's why the hope of a takeover by PIF and their partners would mean so much to us, because Newcastle's been a sleeping giant for many, many years. With regards to the ongoing takeover, which I touched on earlier, that's been very frustrating for fans and has probably made things worse, especially online on social media. There are some people who, for whatever reason, have taken delight in, abusing people online with regards to the takeover and regards to any views that they've put out there. And I think that's, the fact that we've all been locked down and not been able to go out has made that, has emphasized that, has given it more credence than it probably would have got. So, yeah, it's been tough as a Newcastle fan. But as I said earlier, I think, with the legal situation that's ongoing on two fronts now with Newcastle, I do believe, وليد, that light is at the end of the tunnel. And just want to thank Stu for his kind words about the stuff we've done for the food bank. We certainly don't do it for thanks. I don't really deserve a great deal, I don't think, because, it's not me who set the food bank up. And, the likes of Steve Hasty, Colin Whittle, Bill Corcoran have been monumental in that whole thing from start until now. All I've done is given them the platform to share it. And yeah, we've raised, I think, close to £6,000 now with the various T-shirts. And that is down to the fact that people have bought into the idea of supporting charity at a time when a lot of people are finding it difficult to support themselves. So, for the people who've watched NUFC Matters and who've donated to the T-shirts, donated, to the various things that we've done. We've got to thank them for that, and it's the people out there who watch these shows who need thanking for their support, because without them, the food bank would have struggled in this 12-month period.
Steve Hasty, summary for the season in all aspects. From your perspective.
From a personal perspective, I would say this has probably been the hardest season I've ever known. In 54 years, it's the first time, 54 years of going to watch Newcastle United. I'm older than 54, but it's the first time in 54 years that I've never been inside St James's Park at least once to see at least one game in a season. I've never ever known that. This is unheard of, and obviously the whole idea of from a personal point of view, not being able to go and watch your football club and be in St James's Park and mixing with your friends and talking football together, it's made it very, very difficult for everybody. So when it comes to the games themselves, watching the games on TV, no crowd, no atmosphere, not really be able to get into the game yourself and to spin off and enjoy that exuberance and that excitement and that passion. All of that was missing when you were watching on TV. Even when you had that horrible phony crowd noise that the TV channels were putting up, it still wasn't the same. So from a purely personal perspective, it's been an atrocious time for everybody, I think, in trying to really get yourself engaged in the football. And then when you have managed to engage yourself in the football, you've been watching some horrible football. You haven't been able to get excited about that football. You've seen performances. You've seen players that have been flat. You've seen a manager that seems flat. We've gone through long periods of not winning, not getting the results. That adds to the stress and trauma that people are going through, because at the end of the day, you want your football club to be doing its best. So, and I appreciate it. Obviously, none of us have ever gone through anything like this before, with a global pandemic, not being able to mix with people for so long. And that's when the interaction that we've had on the shows has really come to the fore, where we as a collective have been able to chat and talk to each other and help each other through. And for that, I'm forever grateful. What have we seen on the football pitch from Newcastle United? Very little. What have we seen from the manager? Some strange decisions, some shocking performances, some really, really strange formations, a lack of coherence, a lack of any continuity. And basically, I think what we've seen on the pitch sums up what we've been experiencing in life over the last 12 months. Nothing that we've ever come across before. I'm just so grateful that we've managed to survive, that we managed to stay in the Premier League, and that we're in the perfect position for a rebuild that will then hopefully, as the guys have said, with the takeover very much on the horizon, we are in a great position to move forward collectively and move forward together, and to bring some great times back to Newcastle United. And I'm going to enjoy the close season. I'm going to enjoy there not being Newcastle United on the TV, because I'm hoping that come August, it's going to be Newcastle United inside St James's Park, and also being able to go to away games and follow our football club when we're playing the opposition and hopefully beating them. So from my perspective, frustrating, disappointing, but you know what? We all keep the faith. We all keep the faith in there, and we all keep fighting for the football club and with the love of our football club in our hearts.
That was great, Steve Hasty. Martin, how you summarize the season in all aspects from your perspective of view?
Yeah, I think for this season, weirdly for me, it's been the same for everybody as it is for me. Nobody's been able to go to St James's, so I don't get to go to St James's. So for once, everybody else has been the same as me. So it's been a leveler. The football has, I think Steve Hasty makes a really good point. It's impacted more on people's mental health because we have been locked down. We've not been able to socialize. We've not been able to get out and listen in person to a hasty rant. Meet for beers and kick things into touch. And I think the shows, as the lads have said, as Mitch and Stu have said, being able to get on the shows and still have that camaraderie over the club and the hopes and aspirations that we carry forward is something that I think we need to keep the fires burning. The football has been anywhere at times from exhilarating to embarrassing, and the season has, from the manager downwards to some of the players, has been typical Newcastle. It's been, sometimes it'll make you sad, other times it'll make you cry, with joy. And I think that's just a normal season. But like we're a proud people. We want the club to be the best. I want the club to be the best, even if I don't live there. I want to be able to pull on a black and white shirt on a Saturday on a match day, refreshing my phone every 30 seconds to see, have we scored? Are the Mackems getting beat? That's your weekend, that's your release, and then a few beers, and a kebab and whatever else on a Saturday night. So, I hope next season is a rebuild. I'm still confident of the takeover. I'm sure at some point I'll DM Steve again and say, how confident are you, mate? And he'll tell me to go away again like he did last time. But yeah, it's lads that are sat on this chat tonight that give me a belief that our club can be great again. And I think when you listen to people like Steve Hasty, like Mitch and Stu, like Keith, as a fan, it's hard not to look forward to how great we can be again. I hope I get to see success in my lifetime. And if not, then I hope that the next generation have a platform to be able to see success. So that's all I can wish for. But look, again, we'll sit through the end of season. We'll pray for the summer, and let's go again. And we will go again, and we'll pack the ground out, and we'll give our support again this time next season. So bring it on.
That was great. That was great, lads. Great summary of the whole season. Maybe we'll get to the takeover more specifically later on in the injury time. Now we have a good or great part of the show. Now is the awards, season awards. We'll give awards to many category. We'll see. I have too many category, but we will see how the time will help us. After play this shout out for our sponsor, and we'll get back to the first category. Is just to give you time to think. It's the best coach of the season, first award. Let's start just before this. Play this this video, and we'll get back.
Sorry, it's getting too noisy in here now, so we're going to shoot off.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Anytime. Sure.
Enjoy.
All right, take care, guys. Have a great night.
No worries, boys. Be safe. Same, you.
Bye.
يلا شباب.
يلا شباب. Welcome, Jimmy. Welcome to the show. Good timing.
How are you?
Good timing. Before we start, if you can quickly, great, Jimmy. If you can quickly just say a few words about how NFC Matters show mean to you before we get into our category.
What does NFC Matters mean to me?
Show, yeah, the show, yeah.
It's obviously a big, massive thank you to Steve. I've obviously known him a long time, and he gave me an opportunity to come on and do things like this. So always very grateful. I didn't really know what I was doing at that first show, to be honest with you. I was sitting on my out watching the football, and then all of us faces that I've got to know so well was all there staring back at me. So I had to kind of watch what I was saying at the start, because obviously with me being a Man United fan was quite interesting. But yeah, obviously it's been a big big plus for me, like doing that show, because I've met lots of new people, lots of great people, you guys sitting in front of me. It's given me an opportunity to obviously follow my club as well and get involved in my club on the fan channel scene. So I know I've said to you privately, Steve, but a big thank you for having me on there that time, mate. And
No problem.
It's a fantastic work. That's a pleasure, Steve. Really appreciate it, mate. It's given me it's allowed me to meet some great people. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody in person when I can, when the time's right, and getting back to St James's Park myself, because some of my work colleagues, I know you yourself, Steve, as well. See some pictures of you at the game the other day, so it's great from all in perspective. Forget Man United. For a minute, it's great to have fans available back in the stadiums. I'm looking back in St James's Park myself as well, and obviously back down the road to Old Trafford, but I'll keep that quiet because we're not talking about them today. But yeah, it's absolutely spot on the work you do. I watch every single chat you all have, every show, the Amigos, everything, so I'm pretty in the loop on the Newcastle scene. So it's all good, and the work that they do for the food bank, and that's amazing. Like, and that helps a lot of people in different ways. And the mental health aspect's a big one as well, which I feel like Steve and all the other guys on that platform have done absolute wonders for people's mental health in such a difficult time in the world. So big thank you for. I know I only jump on from here and there, but as I say, I've met lifelong friends, and I really enjoy the interaction on the shows. So big thank you to everybody that gives me that platform to do it.
Thank you, Jimmy. We would like to welcome Richie. Hi, Richie.
Hi, Alred. Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Richie.
Hello, mate.
We have, if you can, Richie, just if you can answer this question: how NFC Matters show mean to you, beside also the Loaded Mags?
Well, I know Steve knows this. I've told him in person, like on direct messages, but I've also said it on the in our chats as well, and also the Christmas special. The NFC Matters channel has been absolutely phenomenal. I was in a very, very dark place with my mental health last year, and part of the recovery became because of the NFC Matters family. The support from the people that I've made through the channel was absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I could have got through lockdown and my mental health issues if it wasn't for the channel. One of the big things that came out from the channel was obviously meeting the rest of the Loaded lads and being invited to be part of that channel as well. I have now got to the stage now where my mental health in probably the best place it's been in for God knows how many years. But that's all thanks to the NFC Matters family and the Loaded lads. So I'd like to say to Steve, everybody on the channel, for helping me get through that, and also meeting all the fantastic friends through the channel as well, but also on the social media aspects as well.
Thank you, Richie. Now let's start our season awards. We'll start with Steve Wraith. But Steve Wraith, maybe I will ask you two questions, not just the best coach. We would like this coach and where you put Steve Bruce among the 20 coach in order.
The only way that Steve Bruce will ever be a coach is if you take all of his teeth out and put seats inside. I'm afraid he's not a coach, Al-Walid. He's not a coach. He's a man manager, if you can even call him that. I think we've seen with Graham Jones's appointment at Newcastle, we finally have a coach who knows what he's doing. Steve Bruce has earned a living as a manager for the last, 15, 20 years, whatever it is. And he's what you would say in England is he's flying along on the seat of his pants, which means is he's cheating a living, really. He is cheating a living. He is not a manager at all. He's the kind of person who has become, gone from a player into a manager's job. And he's just one of the lads. He likes to be with the players. He likes the dressing room banter, and he doesn't know tactics. He hasn't, tactics aren't something that Steve Bruce understands. We've said it many times on the show. It's tic-tacs for Steve Bruce and tactics for other people. And tic-tacs are a sweet in England. So, for me personally, where does he come in the Premier League? Well, his stats speak for themselves. Currently, wherever Newcastle finish, I suppose that's where you would put him this season. But I just don't rate him at all. And it's unfortunate that until the takeover goes through, we are stuck with Steve Bruce as manager. But he doesn't coach people. He doesn't do the work on the training ground. Thank the Lord and thank Allah and thank anybody else that, Graham Jones came to the club and helped us find a way out of the relegation battle, Al-Walid.
You recommend him to coaching Sunderland next season in League One?
Well, to be honest, they're doing very well themselves without Steve Bruce these days. I mean, Steve Bruce helped them to get there. He started the journey for Sunderland. But yeah, Sunderland are in the third tier of English football for another season. Financially, that's not going to be good for our rivals. And now, they can use 6 in a row for something else, because they used to sing 6 in a row about six wins in a row against Newcastle. It'll be six seasons away from the Premier League now, which is fantastic.
So who's the best coach in Premier League? You give it to whom?
Pep Guardiola is this season's best coach. He's won the Premier League without a recognised striker for most of the season, and by playing a different formation, which is something he will probably be happy about that more than anything else. The fact that he's played with unrecognised strikers and used a formation, that's the kind of thing that a tactical manager does and will be very, very proud of. He brought in a centre half to replace the replace the skipper, who was a rock for them for many, many years, and he's got the Premier League title back. Now is his biggest test though as manager. He's got to the Champions League final. Can he win it? That's the one thing that Manchester City have never won. But Pep by a country mile this season has been the better manager. Jurgen Klopp is there on merit as well. It hasn't been as good a season for Jurgen Klopp. What went wrong for them? Very simple. They lost their best players. They lost the skipper and they lost the centre half when he was injured against Everton, and they've never really recovered from that. To lose Henderson in the midfield was a massive blow for Liverpool as well. He's been a fantastic player in the engine room, despite being a Sunderland man himself. He's been a big miss for Liverpool. So, but yeah, Jurgen Klopp for me probably is in there as well. I've got to take my hat off, and because Jamie's on the show, to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he seems to have finally turned the tide at Old Trafford. Whether that's partly to do with the fact that there hasn't been supporters in the ground, maybe there hasn't been as much pressure on Man United, but whoever brought in the players that he's brought in, whether that was him or whether that was a scouting team or whatever, take your hat off to Ole, because they're playing for him. Cavani has been a revelation. What a player he is. The goals he scored are outrageous. He finally seems to have Pogba firing when he plays on the pitch as well. Somebody who I've slated in the past. But as a pat on the back for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And look, they're going to finish second this season. He's making progress. Big year next year for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United, though. But I haven't hated Man U as much as I usually hate them this season.
Steve Hasty, best coach for the season.
If it was coach of the season based in among the coaches at Newcastle, I would probably have to go for the guy that drives the coach driver who's been taking the players around, because the rest of them haven't exactly put themselves in any decency, have they? I suppose that's why. I agree entirely with what Steve says. We know that Steve Bruce is not a coach. we've hung on by the seat of our pants. I mean, we're talking about a manager of a football club who managed to take us and give us 2 wins in 22. So from that point alone, then you would say that you've got to be hanging around, scrambling around at the bottom, and that's where we have been. So I don't rate Bruce at all. He certainly doesn't come in anywhere near. Steve was a bit generous, and he said he's he's from a coaching perspective, he's going to be where we finish. I don't think it's even that. I think I'm going to stick him at 17th. Because I think there are other coaches around them, even though we might finish above them, that from a coaching perspective, I think are probably better and haven't had the riches that he's had in terms of the money spent in the transfer windows. Coach of the year, yes, absolutely has to be Guardiola. Steve's quite correct when he talks about Guardiola and the fact that he's got to remember he lost the league championship. Having won it, he then lost it, and he's come back with a completely different set of players, a different mindset, a different style of football on the football pitch. And as you say, playing it sometimes without a centre forward whatsoever. Some games he's gone in with 6 midfielders, very much like the tiki-taki style that was brought into Barcelona, where they played quite often without any centre forward and with 6 midfielders. But he plays it at a little bit. They play a little bit more flamboyantly, and I suppose I've got to give a shout out for Brendan Rodgers, because there's a football club that's won the FA Cup for the first time in their history after being in 4 FA Cup finals. A man who had done everything in Scotland in terms of being managing Celtic, come down to this country after the disastrous. The difficult time that he had towards the end, where he was ridiculed because Liverpool didn't quite make and win the championship a few years earlier. And everybody said when he came down that, you know what, it's easy to win in Scotland because there's only one club, because Rangers were shot anyway. And he built the bedrock of the success that Rangers then had going on and into winning the league 9 times. He then came back to England and has done remarkably well. And I'm disappointed that they haven't made it into the top 4. It doesn't look as though they're going to be there. I think it's going to be a miracle tomorrow, results-wise, if they manage to get into the top 4. They're very much no longer in the driving seat in that respect, which is disappointing from Leicester's perspective, even though they've won the FA Cup. Solskjaer, I think, yes, he deserves a shout, but I think that with the riches that Solskjaer's had, and they've had some shocking results. Start of the season they got beat off Tottenham 6-2 at home. I think Jamie will be the first to admit that the home record has never ever been as bad at Manchester United as it has been this season. And then you look at Chelsea, and you can't pick either of Lampard or Thomas Tuchel because, well, they've both only done half a season each. I think Tuchel has it in him to be a very, very good, successful manager. But I wonder whether the pressure gets to him at the end. And that's what I think is going to make the Champions League next weekend very, very interesting from that perspective. Because if he can pick his squad up from what happened in the FA Cup final last weekend and get a result against Guardiola, then that would top off a very, very good half season for him, despite losing the FA Cup. But Guardiola for me has to be the manager of the year.
Great, Steve Hesty. Martin, your coach for the season, best coach of the season.
Yeah, I think you can't not name Guardiola. I think a lot of people, probably the back end of the season prior, were questioning, was Guardiola going to stay? Did City need a rebuild? Obviously, COVID hit. Nobody was buying players, and I think if you look at the second half of the season in particular, their win ratio, 17, 18 games unbeaten, all wins barring a couple of draws, playing without an orthodox striker in a 4-3-3. I think they were outstanding, and I think for me, what really solidified City, which was surprising, was the upturn in John Stones playing alongside Ruben Diaz. I thought Diaz, quite rightly named, probably will be named Player of the Season. I think he was outstanding. And I think Stones coming alongside him, probably the season prior, Stones wasn't even getting a game. So I think, it will be hard not to knock him. I think Manchester United have had a good second half season, but I really do like Brendan Rodgers as a manager. I think the win in the FA Cup, he tactically got it bang on against Chelsea. In fairness, Chelsea had a bit of a stinker, but I think Brendan Rodgers is an absolutely fabulous coach. He's a coach that, if we get the takeover, I would love to see somebody like a Brendan Rodgers type coming to Newcastle, because I think we could be amazing. As for Steve Bruce, to kind of take Steve's point about him, you wouldn't even let him drive the bus and stuff. Look, I made a comment on Twitter the other night about Sam Allardyce, and I said, him exiting the league, relegating West Brom, and then, he spent 5 minutes on his Sky interview after the last game, and pretty much trying to sound out Sky to get a job, was really just showed the caliber of some of the other managers that are in the league. And I think the likes of Allardyce and Steve Bruce, the game has changed. Me and Richie and the lads on Loaded were talking about this on Friday night, sorry. And we said that the game has changed. It's more analytical. It's more about sports science. It's more about what the players eat. The days of just winging it, chucking a ball in the middle of the park like Bruce does, and right, go ahead, lads, play a little bit of five-a-side there. Those days are gone. So I think tactically and game-wise, the Premier League is a different breed now, and you've got managers like Guardiola, you've got like Tuchel, you've got Rodgers, that the teams around them are just leaving some of these other managers out. So, yeah, I think Steve Wright is right. I can't see us, unless the takeover happens, I think we start the season again with Steve Bruce, which, it's not good for any black and white fan. But, Pep Guardiola, coach of the season, but a good run up for Brendan Rodgers. Go on.
Cool. So we have three now. All of you, Pep Guardiola, Jimmy, your best manager of the season. I just want to apologize because I have many categories regarding the awards. If you just quickly, your take on that, Jimmy.
The best manager, of course, is Guardiola, although it pains me to say it. He's a fantastic manager. He's proved it at every club he's been to. Cheers, Steve, for reminding me of that Tottenham game, mate, as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But Guardiola has brought a style of football since he came to Barcelona that no one knows how to beat it yet. And obviously struggled a bit. Well, I say struggled that season. He has replicated, I think, Steve Rafe, I'm going to call you Steve Rafe because there's two Steve, hit the nail on the head when Company left. That was a big opportunity for them to go into they needed to go into the market to solve that issue. And I've seen Ruben Diaz play quite a lot. One of my friends back home is a Benfica fan. So I have a little soft spot for Benfica, and Ruben Diaz has been a very good defender in Europe for a lot of years. And I actually wanted him to come to Man United. They got him, and then what Martin just said, they're partnering him up with Stones. They just got that solid base. And when you've got players like Torres, Sterling, coming into the mix this season with a solid base of a Gundogan and a Fernandinho and Rodri, you've got a fantastic base to go and play football and score goals. And that's what Guardiola's teams do. They can afford to get rid of Sergio and still absolutely walk the league. So it's been a funny old season, but he gets the award for me, of course, on merit because they've won the title in emphatic fashion. But for me, I think David Moyes has had a fantastic season. I think what he's done at West Ham is phenomenal. I don't think enough's been said about it either. They obviously took Jeff Lingard from us, which I felt like from an initiative they needed a player like that. I would have actually liked him to come to Newcastle. I don't understand why they weren't looking at him. But he's went up and done fantastic, and potentially might be a mate for a deal for us to get Declan Rice. That's the talking there anyway. That's the boy we want. So he's been fantastic. But I feel like Brendan Rodgers is another fantastic manager, but David Moyes and Brendan Rodgers have stood out for me this year as really, really good managers, because I feel like after the Sunderland debacle, and we all know where they are now, I think David Moyes' career could have went pear-shaped, and the fact that he's went back to West Ham and put them back together and invested in the market, he's setting them up very good now, and they're a hard team to beat. And if they get in Europe, he's done a fantastic job. So I'd give it to him on merit, because he got a lot of stick when he got to us and had to rebuild his career. So forget Guardiola, we'll go with Moyes.
Cool. Jimmy, Richie? Are you hearing us?
With regard to manager of the year, for manager of the year, I'd have to agree with the rest of the lads. It definitely has to be Guardiola. To be in 8th place before Christmas, to turn it around, to win the league by the amount of margin that they did, is a great achievement. I agree with what the lads have said as well. Diaz has been player of the year, and he's been that centre back that they were missing last year. After Vincent Kompany retired, also bringing the way he's developed Phil Foden, and actually stay at the club rather than send him out on loan so he can play with world-class players on a day-to-day basis and train, and also give him more match time this year with obviously David Silva leaving the club last year. Regards to honourable mentions, I think everyone that the lads have mentioned has been good shouts. I was going to mention David Moyes, because the way he's done at West Ham this year has been great, but I'll also mention Marcelo Bielsa. I think some of the football that they've played this year and some of the results that they've got at Leeds, bear in mind they were promoted from the Championship last year, it's been really pleasing to watch, and with some of the players that are still in the team, a bit like Newcastle, are Championship standard as well. So to have them playing football as well as have been this is definitely worth an honourable mention as well.
Cool. So for me, I agree, Bob Guardiola, because for me he scares me. Sometimes I saw him lose in normal games, and he's cool during the season. He's not panicking, just thinking ahead. So he when you see him, you can see he's feeling that he will get the season after all. We have now about 25 minutes left. So if you can quickly, I think there is some sound in the background. I think either from Jimmy or Rich, if you can just try to mute it, please, if you can. I don't know if it's me. Oh, maybe it's from, maybe, no, it's okay. It's not from you. Okay, so now just quickly, please just mention the player. Just mention the player names for the team. Now, if we want to say what is the best player of Newcastle, player of the season, and the Premier League, just the name. Start from you, Steve.
For Newcastle's player of the season, it's a toss-up between two people, but Dubravka has been superb. I think without Dubravka, we would have struggled. But Callum Wilson's goals as well. Who's played the best? Who's done well? They both had injury problems. Look, I'm going to pick Callum Wilson. Without his goals, Newcastle wouldn't have stayed up. So that's going to be my player of the season. For a Premier League one, very difficult, really difficult. I'm probably going to go. So difficult to pick, really. You're going to have to go with somebody from the champions, aren't you? You're going to have to go for a Manchester City player. I'm going to go Phil Foden.
Steve Hesty.
Agree with Steve. I would say Callum Wilson, purely because without his goals, we wouldn't be in the survival mode that we were. You can have a goalkeeper and he can save as many goals as you want, but if you're not scoring at the other end. So for me, Callum Wilson. And for the Premier League, I would have to go for Kevin De Bruyne.
Jimmy.
Callum Wilson for me. Goals keep you up, and ever since he's come in from Bournemouth, he's been a breath of fresh air. I thought it was an absolute snip for what Newcastle paid for him, and his goals along with Willock's goals have kept Newcastle in the Premier League for another season. So honourable mention to Willock, but yeah, Callum Wilson for me. Premier League. We'll stick with Man City. I think Luke Shaw's been fantastic this year, but he's not quite the best player in the league. But I would say Ruben Diaz. He come into a back four that was really struggling, and he's completely solidified their defence and give them a fantastic base to build on. And that would be a choice.
Richie?
After we go the full house with the lads, Callum Wilson, I think he's two standout performances this year at Everton away, and also his final game at Leicester. He ran them absolutely ragged that last game. Phenomenal for Newcastle that day. For player of the season in the Premier League, I'm probably going to have to agree with Steve Wraith. I think Phil Foden has been phenomenal. He's going to be such a talent for the Man City and for England going forward. And to think he's, how young he is, he's going to be a hell of a player.
For me, for Newcastle, it's very hard. There are so many players help us, but I can say Joe Willock, because he did something impossible to get us all this point in the last run. For Premier League, actually, I would say Bruno Fernandes, because I think he's the reason of Manchester United become the second in the team. Once he arrived, Manchester United, he organized everything for the team. For Manchester City, they have two teams. That's why they are holding two teams. So it's very hard for me to pick one of them. Okay, now we'll go to NFC fan of the season. Actually, for me, I have to have three names for me, and I will explain why. This is the NFC fans for me of the season. There is no number one, number two, number three. It's just the three in general. Steve Wraith for all. I didn't have time to thank him in the show. He bring us all together, make good connection with everybody. We everybody happy. Nobody go. It's very organized. Organize each other in different countries, different languages as well. And he built a good. I don't want to describe it. I know it's funny for a cult, but it's like it's really empowering for Newcastle fans. So thank you, Steve, and you are one of the best NFC fans for me in the season.
Thank you, very kind, mate.
For number two, I would for the second one is Keith, because what Keith Patterson did, it's amazing. He just he started from himself and built up a case. It was ignored and it was fight by Premier League, but it's going big. He finds more evidence. He did his time and money for that, and finally the Newcastle club take the case. So for me, it's big contribution for him for the sake of the Newcastle takeover. Maybe Tyler, he was famous at the beginning of the season, but for me, actually, he did something nobody did it. The way he went to FA in London and starting to protest there, and he really embarrassed the Premier League with the videos and the communication around the FA. Really, for me, he's also a hero. So, any quick comment on this, lads? Steve Ray?
Yeah, listen, I'm humbled to be on there. I mean, Keith's done a fantastic job, with regards to, NCSL. It's been a long road for him. He put his head above the parapet, which, anybody who does that is always going to have grief or issues or problems. But, and the trip down to the Premier League, as you say, was fantastic for Newcastle fans in general, just to see the Premier League being put under pressure. You you're in lockdown, and he was always again going to get some criticism for that. But I think, listen, I'm humble to be in with the guys. Again, from my perspective, I just did it for people's mental health and other people's mental health, and it gives me more of a buzz when I hear somebody like Rich say, that it helped him turn things around for himself. And he's to see him make the recovery he has from where he was at 12 months ago is fantastic. So that for me is rewarding itself.
Steve Hesty.
Yeah, I mean, three great choices that you've got, وليد. Keith's case is a remarkable case. I've known Keith for many, many years, and I know how stubborn and how dogmatic he can be. I also know that when he's right, he is right, and that's one thing we can say, that he will not let this one go. If I was going to add, if there was place for a fourth person along there, I would have also stuck Bill Corcoran in. Bill, my colleague, has been the driving force this last 12 months behind, and also the previous 4 years, behind the fans' food bank. And the work that Bill's carried on doing, he's the link man between ourselves and the West End Food Bank. And there's no stopping him. I was out with him earlier on today, another charity event that he heard about and pushed forward. And it was great. He got up on the stage among the musicians, and he gave an amazing speech of thanks to people for their support. He even had Cy King from the famous Hairy Bikers giving him a round of applause, and he had Cy laughing his head off at some of the comments he made about the city, about the government, and about the leaders of our council. And for someone who can get Cy King rallied in the way that Bill managed, it had to be seen today. It was fantastic. I thought we were going to lose one of the Hairy Bikers at that particular point, because I thought if he laughs anymore, he's going to give himself a hernia and end up in hospital, because Bill had us all enthralled in with laughter. So Bill Corcoran, I would tag on there with a mention as well.
Okay, of course, yeah, of course. I just pick three, just. All right. So I want just apologize regarding the time. We have last two important things. So quickly, we know that Mike Ashley unfortunately will start the season. So we have idea about maybe how the budget is. If you just can name me who's the player or the signing we need. If you can just name one signing or two, we need under Mike Ashley starting of the season. Of course, the transfer market, I think, will pass the time because the cases, and which we will talk about it in a few minutes. So if you can just tell me which player we should bring, Steve Wraith, in Mike Ashley budget.
Well, on a Mike Ashley budget, would be lucky to bring anybody in on a permanent deal. Harry Kane, I'm afraid, won't be coming to Newcastle under Mike Ashley. I'd be surprised if he came to Newcastle if we were taken over, to be honest. I think he's mindset on signing for someone like Manchester City. I think he's very keen to break the Premier League record held by Alan Shearer. I can't see him going to another London club out of loyalty to Tottenham, but money talks, and Manchester City have money. That's where I think he'll end up. Newcastle, would love to sign Joe Willock. I think, but I think that's not going to happen. I think he's going to stay at Arsenal. We're going to be relying on loan deals and, hoping that there's somebody out there who Newcastle want, who's prepared to come and we can get at a cheap price. It's as simple as that. I don't expect us to be shopping for anything if Ashley is still in charge. But I'm hopeful about the takeover. Takeover goes through in time. Newcastle could make some waves in the transfer window, but it really just depends on whether we're shopping in Poundland or whether we're shopping in Harrods, وليد.
Steve Hasty.
Joe Willock, one name. We've seen what he's done in half a season. We know how he could fit into that team. We know what a good player he is. And if there was one player that you could steal, because you don't know what else is out there and available, for me, just getting Joe Willock back, even if it was on another another loan deal would do for me. Obviously, we need strikers. We need at least one more striker. We need some ball-winning midfielders. We need someone who can replace Shelby. But if we've only got money for one, because I think probably have, it's going to have to be Joe Willock for me.
Jimmy.
From a Newcastle perspective, definitely agree with the two guys. Joe Willock, if they are going to work off of loan deals, I feel like that is a deal that they need to at least inquire about whether they can do that again. I think he's been a breath of fresh air for Newcastle, scored some really important goals, but he looks a real player as well. Obviously couldn't get in the Arsenal team. When you look at where they are in the league, you wonder why he isn't playing for them. So if there's an option to bring him back next season, definitely. But let's just say in an ideal world, they've got a couple of quid to spend on my suggestion. I think Newcastle need a right back. Kraft's not good enough. He's championship level, in my opinion. I don't. And if it was up to me, I had a few quid in the bank. I would have a little look at Max Aarons from Norwich. I think he'd fit into that team perfectly. Really good player, and I have a feeling you could get him for a decent price, but obviously Ashley's price would be half of what he's probably worth. So, but if there was money available, he'd be a player that I definitely think would improve Newcastle's right back situation.
Rich.
Yeah, full house. I've got to agree with the lads. If we've got money for one player, it'll have to be Joe Willock. He's been, the way he's transformed Newcastle, especially since he's been starting games the last the last quarter of the season. To break the record for the youngest goal scorer, to have 6 goals in 6 games, it's a great feat in itself. I do believe we'll need another striker as well, depending obviously where we're going to be shopping. One option could be returning to Blackburn Rovers and possibly going for Adam Armstrong. I believe obviously we've got something in his contract where we can get him a bit of money off wherever his sell fee is. So obviously, if you disregard that, obviously you might be able to get him for a lower price. It would be fantastic backup for Callum Wilson.
For me, I would like, of course, Willock, and I think we need someone. I'm sure we need someone in the place of Shelby, someone new who can really can manage the team in the middle, defensive midfielder. Okay, now we are running to the injury time. We just in the injury time we are gonna ask the most common question I've been asked from Saudi fans. So it would be nice if Newcastle if Newcastle fans answer this question, starting from you, Steve Wraith. They ask me, when do you think, when the takeover, it will at least, when we'll know the decision? So with this, everything, with the cases and the dates, we know that 11 June, the hearing for anti-competitive case, and the hearing will start in 20 July, starting for arbitration. So expectation, when do you think we will hear a vital answer?
I don't think anybody can put a time scale on it. That's been the big problem. We've probably all been caught out over the last 12 months by predicting something, and I think all of us have decided, those of us who've got information coming in from one or both sides of the deal, all tend to be very reluctant on giving a date. I mean, it's positive in the sense that some information is coming out now with, landmark dates. June, July seems to be a period where things could restart taking off, and that will be great. But it's a question nobody can answer. And at the moment, certainly the buyers can't answer that question, and at this moment in time, the seller can't answer the question. The legal wheels are in motion, and the one thing I will say about legal wheels are that they turn very slowly in England. So I won't make a prediction. I'd be very surprised if anybody else does, but we live in hope, and we all know that the longer this drags on means more of the same for Newcastle fans next season, i.e. Mike Ashley still the owner, Steve Bruce the manager, and we just got to hope that if that is the case, that we can get off to a good start and that the takeover can happen sooner rather than later. But I can't give you a time, I'm afraid. I can't give you a date, sadly, for the Saudi fans. But let's see what
even
happens.
a month, no need for date. A month, approximately,
I
maybe.
wouldn't even be able to do that, Albert. Nobody can do it. Nobody can do it. I'm really sorry, but nobody can anticipate that. What I can say, what I would like to happen, I would like it to happen in June. So that Newcastle can have a good run at bringing in new players with good money and prior to the pre-season starting. But you've already mentioned July. Well, July is when pre-season starts. That's when the friendlies are played. August is when the season begins. So we need it to happen. We need it to happen in June, ideally. But if it happens in July, that won't be a disaster. If it hasn't happened by August, then we are back to where we were this season. And that isn't in a good place. It is with the same owner, with the same manager, hoping that a takeover goes through and hoping that Newcastle are not in relegation trouble. That's the reality of the situation, I'm afraid.
Steve.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of dates being bandied around. I think what people in Saudi need to understand is that the court at the most recent court hearing said that the Premier League had until the 28th of May in which to pull together some information, because obviously what they asked for a deferment. They asked for a little bit more time to gather their thoughts together on how they wanted to proceed. So that's the first date that we've got. Once it gets to that date, then the judge will sit down and he'll come up and say, right, well, now that I know this little bit more extra information, then I'll decide where we're heading. We also have the situation where the Premier League's legal team are saying that not only do they need more time, but they also feel as though this particular case, this competition case, should not happen until the arbitration happens. So that they're trying to get it pushed beyond July. So they're trying to have the arbitration court case heard first. You then have the added problem of the lawyers looking after the arbitration case on behalf of the Premier League are asking that case to be deferred. So all the way along, you've got a number of cases, a number of dates, and you've got the Premier League trying to kick this can of two court cases down the road, down the path, for whatever reason. I personally think that reason is because there is going to be a decision made round about October on governance of football, because there's a review taking place. And I wonder whether the Premier League are using that as a kind of big foot or a golf club to knock that ball down the course. So what we're seeing is delaying tactics by the Premier League's legal team, and that's where it's heading. So all of these dates, there's an awful lot hanging on one date, which then hangs on another, which hangs on another. And Steve is absolutely 100% correct that nobody knows where we are heading with this, other than when it gets, as Steve says, to July, we're back in pre-season training. When it gets to August, the season started again. And unless both parties are going to get together and there's going to be an agreement made outside court before any of this, or before we hit that start league of the league and the players coming back, we're into a very, very difficult position for Newcastle United as a football club and from the fans. So courts, keep watching the court dates, keep watching what the judges are saying, keep seeing how far the Premier League and their legal team are trying to knock this down, and keep seeing how far the football's legal clubs, legal teams on both the arbitration and the competition cases are going to try and stop any more stalling. And that means it's completely out of our hands as supporters.
Great, Steve. Jimmy, your take on that?
I think I'll bow out with this one, because the two Steves have spoken, mate, and they're very clued up men with regards to the Newcastle scene. So if you want to talk the Glazers, mate, we can do that on another show. But I'll pass to Richie on this one. But hopefully we both get a takeover. But the one thing I will say is a lot of Newcastle fans I know want this quickly and sooner rather than later. And I do understand that, but I feel like a lot of the fan base would take a little bit of time as long as it goes through. As long as the deal does go through, they'll play the waiting game. But as I say, the Glazers is for another show. I will lead if you fancy that one, mate. I've got a lot to say on that one.
Sure thing, Jimmy. Richie.
I think both Steves have said that they've got the more experience with all the dates and stuff like. So I think I'd have to say I'd like it to happen as soon as possible. But the all other saying is how long is a piece of string. We all want that the PIF take over, and that's what we want. So as long as it takes, as long as we get that takeover, I believe.
طبعا سألنا ضيوفنا اليوم عن انه متى تكون الصفقه، يعني متى تنتهي في توقعهم. قالوا انه بشكل عام انه صعب جدا توقع تاريخ، خصوصا انه زي ما شفنا احنا في القضيه الاولى، القضيه حقت المنافسه راح تكون الخلال بالمنافسه من الدوري الانجليزي راح تكون في 11 جون. وبالنسبه لي الاستماع لجلسه التحكيم سوف تبدا يبدا الاستماع فقط 21 جولاي. احيانا بعد هذا التاريخ يكون تقريبا في 8 اسابيع او فتره اطول، فصعب جدا تحديد وقت، لانه الدوري الانجليزي جالس يعني يمارس اللي هو تاخير في هذا الموضوع. ما نعرف، خصوصا انه الحين الدوري الانجليزي راح يبدا في اوغست، فصعب جدا انه نحدد تاريخ. لكن انه ان شاء الله يعني انه في امل، وفي امل كبير جدا بكسب هذه القضيه، وفي امل ايضا انه ممكن ينتهي القرار، او ممكن يكون اجتماع جميع الاطراف قبل ما هذه القضايا تروح للمحكمه وتبدا عملها الرسمي فعلا، انه يصير في اجتماع على حل الموضوع بدون الاكمال في هذا الطريق اللي هو طريق المحكمه ورفع هذه القضايا. That was my translation, and just to sum up, I really very honored to host you guys tonight. I will translate the good parts and the important part for the Saudi and Arabic fans. Really appreciate your attendance with us tonight. Really, it was an honor, Steve Wraith, Steve Histy, Jimmy, Richie, Mitch, and Stu as well, Martin. I wish you, hopefully, the hard part pass. I know it's harder time to pass as well, but hopefully it's going to be shorter. Hopefully, I have good feeling that September, at least we're going to hear the final words, and hopefully it's going to be positive. Thank you. Yeah, let's cross fingers on that. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. I have fun. We have fun tonight. Thank you so much all for attendance. And if you want to end the show, Steve Wraith, if you make it the honor and to end up our show for me.
Well, thanks a lot, وليد. Been an absolute pleasure coming on. Great to spend a bit of time again with Steve, with Rich, with Jamie, with Stu, and with Martin and Neil. And thanks for coming on. And just thank you to all the people in Saudi who have given us support. I've kept in touch with one or two, including yourself, over the last 12 months. A big thank you to Kate Stewart as well, who's been a big help in her translation on Twitter and helping and point me in the right direction, and who to keep in touch with, and also to one or two others who who've reached out on different forms of social media. For me, that's been a very important thing. One in particular, Red Rosie on Instagram, has been very supportive, and we've chatted about different things about Newcastle United and Newcastle the place. She actually lived here for a short time. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you to your sponsors, and thank you to you, وليد, for giving us the platform to speak to people in Saudi Arabia. Take care and good night.
Thank you all. Good night. Have a good night.
Thanks for having me, وليد. I appreciate that, mate.
Thank you, Jimmy.
It's always difficult
just
to.
a second, we're still live. Just a second.